Ma'am, we are live. You can start right away.
Okay, okay, okay. Good evening to one and all present here in this 10-day online academic exchange program organized by three colleges. Derozio Memorial College, Mrinalini Datta Mahavidyapith and our own Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya. I feel elated to be a part of this interactive program. And when such programs are arranged for our own students, it becomes all the more exciting. For addressing the host of young bright minds is itself a great challenge. But often this kind of academic seem to be boring when there is no reciprocation of ideas nor face-to-face interaction. But since we are sharing the virtual platform, we are helpless. We seldom have the scope to just look straight into eyes and so through minds. And we have face-to-face interaction. So we have to resort to this kind of only because we have to share the virtual. Now, for my part, I would like to relieve you from the burden of erudite scholarship, by making this discussion a kind of entertainment. And the topic that I have chosen today for deliberation would rightly give me an edge over others. I hope so. Okay. See, these presences and the prevailing pandemic calls for Harry Potter and his friend's magical wand. Okay, that would be, that would, right away the COVID-19 virus to some other planet, or maybe just obviate it. So, without further ado, let's board the Hogwarts Express from Night River Port platform at King's Cross, London, and then away to the fantastic world of Hogwarts and the wizarding and witchcraft world of. But before boarding the Hogwarts Express, just wind back and peep into the world of Harry Potter with his Aunt Petunia and her family at 4 Privet Drive, Surrey, London. Now, a quick recap as to what happened to Harry Potter and how he finally landed in. Okay. So if I'm going a bit fast, please tell me. Okay. So that I will be a bit slow. Okay. So probably most of you have been, die-hard fan of Harry Potter, right? In your teenagers. If I'm not wrong, most of you have been. Like my daughter she's obsessed with Harry Potter and everything. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published in UK in the year 1997.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but there is a persistent audio problem.
Yes, Harithro.
All the students are here in the Google Meet itself. They're telling that they can't hear you properly, and the audio is not clear. I think
oh my God. Should I repeat then? I don't mind. See.
Ma'am, can we try without the headphone once? Without the earphones? I think we can try without the earphones.
Okay, let's try. Okay, so am I audible now?
Yeah, ma'am, but the sound is getting cracked.
No, not. Why is it so? I don't know.
It's
Why it's getting cracked?
It's better now. It's better, ma'am. It's better now. much better.
If there is any problem or issue, please let me know. Please let me know.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Okay. So should I repeat the part?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Samu, any of you, please tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Preetha or anybody? Okay. Okay, so let me repeat the thing. Okay, as I was telling you, this present crisis and the pandemic nation rightly calls for the magical wand of Harry Potter and his friends that would rightly, deport COVID virus to some other planet and maybe, just obviate it. Okay, so let's buckle up and get ourselves transported to the wizarding world of Hogwarts. But I was telling you before boarding the Hogwarts Express from 93/4 platform at King's Cross, London, let's back and just take a peep into Harry's dreary world with Aunt Petunia and her family at 4 Privet Drive, Surrey, London. Now, just a short recap as to what happened to Harry and how he finally landed in Hogwarts. Now, is the audio clear? I don't know. Can you hear me clearly now? Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Much better.
Much better. Okay, please let me know. Okay, so as I was telling you that Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published in the year 1997 in UK and years in the following year. That is with the title Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now this question, might arise in your mind as to why the title has been suddenly changed. Now, in an interview, an ABC interview, J.K. Rowling just, commented, with my consent, they have changed the title. But why? See, this is something which is related to the publishing house, and Levin was the head of the Scholastic Publishing House, and he actually, wanted the sound magic to be, over, okay, so that the sound magic be there in the title, not like, the philosopher seem to attain to them. So, such post alternatives fell into place. Okay. I told you because I just wanted to inform you about the change in title because this might arise in your mind as to why the title has been suddenly changed. Now see, as I told you, the title of today's deliberation is From Muggles to Magic, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So this is a magical escape, a magical journey to the amazing world of Harry Potter. Now Harry Potter, owing to his parents' death, he used to live with his Aunt Antonia and her family, which actually consisted of the ruddy-faced, Uncle Vernon and their loathsome son Dudley. Now they actually, they did not like Harry. Okay, they could not tolerate Harry, and they made Harry to live in a cupboard under the stairs. Now one day, what happened? Harry receives a letter addressed to him. But before he could go through contents of the letter, it was snatched by Uncle Vernon. Subsequently, letters started arriving, and in increasing numbers. Okay, but Uncle Vernon tears them all. And in order to escape the message, he takes the entire family to a miserable sack on a small island. Okay, but ultimately, his purpose is not mitigated, is not achieved because on Harry's 11th birthday, something happened, some uncanny thing happened. Uh, am I audible? I have to ask this because you are facing problem, no? Am I audible?
No, ma'am, but
Can you please tell me, am I
your
audible?
your sound is getting cracked. I think there is an internal problem with your microphone in the laptop or the desktop, whatever you are using. I think it is an internal problem.
Okay, so am I not at all audible?
Ma'am, your words are getting your all there are some words that we cannot hear properly, and some are there, but the whole thing is getting cracked up.
Okay, so that's a real issue, right? Okay, but I muted laptop. I don't know uh, why you're facing kind of problem, such audio problem. I've muted my laptop. Uh, so should I have my laptop and present from my mobile only? That will be better.
If you can use your phone to present, then I think the problem will get resolved. Because I think it's an internal problem
Okay.
of the machine that you are using, or else.
Okay. So let me see. Logging off from this. Yes. So let me present from here. Uh, can you see me? Because I can't see now. I have stopped presenting here.
Ma'am, the presentation is very small. I think it cannot be seen.
That it will be. I told you because I have logged out of my lab. So what can we do or it through?
I don't know,
There is an
ma'am.
incessant
I
problem.
think, ma'am, if you can just change the orientation of the phone. If you can try and change the orientation of the phone.
Okay, yeah, that I can, that I can
Change
do.
it to
Yes.
landscape. Yeah, much
Yes.
better, much better. And we can go
Much
for
better.
full screen.
And the sound.
Much better, ma'am. But sound is still there's a problem with the sound. I don't know why. I think it's a network issue. It's not about the microphone. It's about the network. Okay, ma'am. Can you just give it a full screen, full screen mode?
Let me then present from my laptop only. Otherwise, you will be facing problem.
Okay. But I think it is about the.
Just let me. Okay, just hold a second. Hold a second.
Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself. And unmute, ma'am. You are mute, ma'am. Your microphone is not active. Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself, ma'am. Your microphone is off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Ma'am, it's perfectly clear now.
Perfectly clear. Okay. Okay, finally. Okay. Actually, I logged in with two devices. That's why. That may be the problem.
Yeah, there it got crossed, I guess.
Yes. Thank you, Aditru.
Yeah, welcome, ma'am.
Thanks a lot.
Over to
Yes.
you.
Thank you. So, as I was telling you, I don't know how far you people could grapple the thing. Okay, just a recap. Okay. Now, as I was telling you that Hari, being an orphan, because his parents died, rather they were murdered. He lived with his Aunt Petunia and her family. That is Rudy-faced Uncle Vernon and their loathsome son Dudley. Now, the Dursleys barely tolerated Harry and made him live in a cupboard under the stairs. Now, one day, he receives a letter addressed to him. But before he could go through the contents of the letter, it was smashed by Uncle Vernon. Subsequently, letters started arriving in increasing numbers. And in order to escape the missives, Uncle Vernon takes his family to a miserable shack on a small island. But ultimately what happens, that his purpose is not achieved because something uncanny happened on Harry's 11th birthday. In this context, let me tell you that Harry Potter was born on 31st July in 1980. And interestingly, J.K. Rowling's birth date is also 31st July 1965. So actually, she kept the same date for her protagonist. Okay, this is added information that I gave. Okay, so what happened on Harry's 11th birthday? Rubeus Hagrid, the office giant, arrives in a flying motorcycle. And he reveals Harry that he is a born wizard and he has been accepted to be the student at Hogwarts. He further informs Harry that his parents died not because of some car accident that he had been intimated about, but his parents were murdered by the evil wizard Lord Voldemort. And out of this skirmish, out of this confrontation, Harry received the lightning bolt scar on his forehead. Okay, so this scar is owing to that skirmish. Now, Harry's mother, Lily Evans Potter, who is also a witch, she is also a witch, and she actually, sacrificed her life for her son Harry, thus conferring invincibility to her son. And Harry, after being struck dead by Voldemort, you will see this in Deathly Hallows, in the forest, in Dark Forest. Harry will not die. Why? He will survive the killing curse because of his mother's selfless sacrifice for her son. Okay, so love can actually, create miracle. And here, Harry is the only one who could survive the killing curse. Okay, now let us see, just glance to the screen. Okay, just a second.
Ma'am, I think you need to unmute yourself. You need, ma'am, you need to unmute yourself. No, ma'am, down here, you need to unmute from down here. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, can you hear me? I just got disconnected. Sorry for that. Okay. So here I was. Now, coming to the title of my presentation, that is from Muggles to Magic. Now, who are Muggles? Let me tell you. Muggles are non-magical. That is, they are neither, witches nor wizards. And this journey is, kind of enchanting and, both a mesmerizing journey from muggles to magic. Now, the one thing that is, the theme that is intricately weaved into the matrix of magic is the dichotomy and conflict between good and evil. Can you see the screen? Good and evil?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, we can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Huh?
Still, you can't hear me?
Ma'am, you are perfectly audible.
Then?
Yes, ma'am, you are perfectly audible.
Oh my god, I'm getting confused.
No, ma'am. I am telling you, you can continue with your presentation. Your audio is alright. It's very clear now. It's rather.
Okay. Thank you for it. Okay. I got confused. Okay. So this is something, the dichotomy between good and evil is, intricately weaved into the matrix of magic. Okay. And good and evil comes in all shapes and sizes and are not necessarily restricted to muggles or magic words. Now, this makes the book something more than being just a fantastic series for teenagers. And therein lies the wide popularity. Let me tell you what are the different levels of conflict. Okay. First conflict is between Dursley and Potter. The Dursleys, the typical, English family, are established in the role of evil complement, while Potters are good people. Now, this dichotomy sets up Harry's rescue from the Dursleys as one important
Ma'am, your
escape.
presentation is on mute. If you just can unmute that, we might be able to hear
Is
you.
that Shriti? Is that Shriti?
Who is ma'am?
I don't know whether it's my problem or your problem because Oratory is telling me the audio is perfect.
The audio is perfect, ma'am, and the presentation is very much visible. Nothing, everything is going smooth. Who is this? Who is interrupting? I don't know. Is there a problem with in her end? I think
Yes,
the
there might be some problem at your end, dear. Please look into that. Okay. Okay. So as I was telling you, now this dichotomy sets up Harry's rescue from the Dursleys as an important escape from evil early on in the novel. Now the second level of conflict is between Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy. Now Draco is the mean little boy who becomes Harry's nemesis. He comes from a family that defected to the evil side of magic with Voldemort. And he always wanted, to get Harry expelled from Hogwarts. Harry's good nature, his loyal friends, and magic reigns true. Now, the third and the most important conflict that I have mentioned here also, you can see that is between Harry Potter and his true antagonist, that is Lord Voldemort. Now, Lord Voldemort epitomizes evil and villainy, and he is the murderer of Harry's presence and a creature destined to kill Harry. And he sought description in the very beginning of the book by Albus Dumbledore, who is the epitome of goodness and benevolence. Actually illustrates the subtle battle between good and evil. Now, if you have watched the movie, you will see that when Harry Potter is holding the Philosopher's Stone at the end, and Lord Voldemort is telling Harry Potter that you give the stone back to me because there is nothing called good nor anything called evil. It's only power, power which reigns. Okay, so give back the stone, the Philosopher's Stone. Now, this is Lord Voldemort. His real name is Tom Marvolo Riddle. His father was Tom Riddle and mother Miro Bott. Voldemort was also a half-blood. I will tell you who are half-blood. Now, his maternal grandfather, that is Marvolo Gaunt, actually was a descendant of Salazar Slytherin, who was the founder of Hogwarts, one of the founders of Hogwarts School. Okay. And Voldemort was also a student at Hogwarts, and he had his good brains. But Albus Dumbledore did not allow him to teach because, Dumbledore could see the evilness right through him. Now, here I have given the list of persons who represented the good and brighter sides of life and the evil, that is the capricious and malicious one. Now, coming to the next slide, that is Philosopher's Stone. Okay, so this is the real thing, the key object around which the book 1 actually revolves. So Philosopher's Stone, usually is considered as an artifact that can turn inexpensive metals into gold, or it can create a kind of elixir that will make human beings younger or delay their death. And it is considered that it is capable of returning someone to life, even if there is the tiniest possibility or bit of life left within him. And in the Muggle world, it was considered a kind of holy grail, and whoever could manufacture or create the Philosopher's Stone was that could bring enlightenment upon him, and it is also known as the Materia Prima. Now, the Philosopher's Stone, in the first book of Harry Potter series, we will see that it is in a grubby little paper parcel in one of the high security vault number 365. Remember that, okay? In Gringotts Wizarding Bank, and this will be retrieved by Hagrid and apparently handed down to Albus Dumbledore to be kept under the watchful eye of Fluffy. Who is Fluffy? I will come to that. That is a three-headed dog. Okay. Now, Nicholas Flamel is the person who is actually, who actually the stone belongs to. And he and his wife perennially lived for almost 665 years. You will find that, when Albus Dumbledore will be meeting Harry Potter in a hospital at the last scene of book 1, you will see that Albus Dumbledore, when Harry will be asking Albus Dumbledore, now what happened to the stone, Dumbledore will be informing that the stone has been destroyed, and Harry will be very upset, quite disheartened as to why this has been destroyed, because then Nicholas Flamel and perennially will die. And then Albus Dumbledore will say something which I will be telling you at the end. Okay. Now, these are the characters, these are the professors who actually taught at Hogwarts. That is Albus Dumbledore, the kind, wise head of Hogwarts. He's a famous wizard, and he is capable of the superhuman level of wisdom, knowledge, personal understanding, and he loved to have lemon sherbet. Okay, and he had a pet, that is Phoenix, called Fox. Now, Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall, or Minerva McGonagall, is the head of Gryffindor House. She is fair but extremely stern and severe in her punishments. Okay, don't forget, and they actually, she ordered Harry and Hermione, she caught them there at the rooftop and ordered them and told them to go to the Forbidden Forest along with Hagrid. So she was quite stern and severe in her punishments. Now, Professor Snape. The Officer Snape is the professor of potions at Hogwarts. Okay. Now, there is ambiguity in Professor Snape's character. Why? Because it will seem so that this is the person who is actually spelling an evil curse on in the Quidditch game. But this was not so. Professor Quirrell was trying to do that, and Professor Snape rescued Harry that day also, and he had been and he will be rescuing Harry in future. If you read the other book, the following series, you will come to know that. Hagrid. Hagrid, as I've already told you, is the office giant who works as a groundkeeper at Hogwarts. And he is, he has more kindness than brains, and he cares deeply for Harry. And this you can well know by the tears he sheds when he has to leave Harry with the Dursleys. And his fondness for animals is enduring. Okay, even if it gets him into trouble, like trying to raise a dragon at home. Professor Quirrell. Professor Quirrell was otherwise a stuttering and seemingly harmless man, a professor of defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. Now, Quirrell, as its name goes, is squirrely and nervous for most of the story. But at the end, you will see that he is the person who is actually the cold-blooded carnivore. Actually, Voldemort will take Professor Quirrell's body, okay, to perpetuate his own evil, cruel desires. Now, Professor Filius Petrie is the unsung hero or professor, and he was the charms master and head of Ravenclaw House during Harry's first year at Hogwarts. And he is described as the best and most knowledgeable charms master alive in the world today. Okay, so these are the professors who taught at Hogwarts. And Dursley family, as I've already told you, Vernon Dursley, Harry's rich uncle, the Muggle, who is always, very, silly, and he is infuriated with the magic and the magical world. And through his jaded Muggle eyes, we will get to get a glimpse of the wizarding world. That's why I told from Muggles to magic. This journey. Okay. Petunia Dursley, Harry Potter's mother's sister, and she was always very, she hated Lily Evans Potter because she was a witch, and she also wanted to accompany, Lily to Hogwarts, but she couldn't. And because Lily's parents gave much, attention to Lily, so she was kind of exasperated with Lily Evans Potter, and even she disliked Harry. And she is an overly doting mother to a spoiled son, Dudley. Okay. Now Dudley, as I've already told you, Harry's cousin, a spoiled, fat bully, annoying and loud, Dudley manipulates parental love to get what he wants. And he has, a kind of outrageous desires for multiple television sets. Okay. Now moving to the next slide. See, this is the platform number 93/4. And today this has become a favorite tourist spot. Whenever one will visit King's Cross Station, London, they will pose, with a trolley as if they are dashing into the world and they are about to board the Hogwarts Express. Okay, so this is the famous platform number 93/4. Now this is the magical train, Hogwarts Express, that will lead us to the witchcraft and wizarding world of Hogwarts. Here we are. We have arrived finally. Okay, this is Hogwarts, the school of witchcraft and wizardry. It was established many years ago by 4 wizards and witches. Their names are Godric Gryffindor, Salazar Slytherin, Helga Hufflepuff, and Rowena Ravenclaw. And see, I've chosen the colors according to the colors of the houses that they belong to. Okay, here you can learn subjects like potions, arts, charms, and you can engage yourself in sports like Quidditch.
Headmaster, as I've already told you, is a long, long name like Albus, Percival, Wulfric, Brian, Dumbledore. A person with a stern, a stern person with a twinkle in the eye and loves sweet chocolate like Sharbat Lemon. Okay. Now moving to the next screen. These are the 4 houses in Hogwarts School. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin. Now, Gryffindor values courage, bravery, chivalry. Hufflepuff values hard work, patience, justice, loyalty. Ravenclaw values intelligence, learning, wisdom. And Slytherin values ambition, shrewdness, cunningness. Each house represents one of the 4 classical elements. This is, quite interesting also. Like Gryffindor, represented fire, Hufflepuff earth, Ravenclaw air, Slytherin water. Okay, and this is a sorting cap that will place you according to a nature and put you in respective houses. Okay. Auditro, is that okay? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So finally we are about to play. Okay, so this is the fictional sport created by J.K. Rowling in this series, that is Quidditch, the famous Quidditch. There is a seeker and the youngest seeker is Harry Potter, 2 Beatles, Fred Weasley and George Weasley. This is, they are Harry's friends, Ron Weasley's brother, Captain and Keeper Oliver Wood, chasers, 3 chasers, Angelina Johnson, Katie Bell, Alicia Spinnet. Now, it is a dangerous but popular sport played by witches and wizards riding flying broomsticks. The chasers and keepers respectively move with and defend the quaffle. Okay. And the 2 beaters beat the bluzzers. They beat the bluzzers away from their teammates towards their opponents. And the seeker locates and catches the golden snitch. Okay. Now once the golden snitch is caught, the game ends. And that particular team wins with 150 points. Harry became the youngest seeker. And, who made him the youngest seeker? That is the professor at the head of Gryffindor House, Minerva McGonagall. And in this respect, let me tell you that James Potter, that is Harry's father, was also a seeker. Okay. Now see, this is Fluffy. I was talking about Fluffy, the Philosopher's Stone that is kept under the watchful eye of Fluffy. Here is Fluffy, 3-headed dog. Okay, and Hagrid purchased Fluffy from Greek Shappy at Lake Cauldron and then handed it to Albus Dumbledore and he actually handed the Philosopher's Stone to Albus Dumbledore so that they can be kept under the watchful eye of Fluffy. So, this 3-headed dog actually aids in guarding the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, now as I was telling you, Voldemort took the body of Professor Quirrell. At the end, he himself says to Harry Potter, that is, Harry, I am the parasite. I live on others' body. And he used to survive on unicorn's blood that used to get in the Forbidden Forest. This is very important. He used to sustain on unicorn's blood. Okay, now Harry ultimately gets hold of the Philosopher's Stone. He could finally retrieve the Philosopher's Stone after getting through all the hurdles and encounters. Now these are the encounters that I have listed. The first encounter will be, fulfilled. The task will be fulfilled by Hermione Granger. That is, Hermione Granger is the most studious student of Hogwarts. Before the professors could, just ask a question, put a question, she was ready to answer. So she was very studious. And eventually she became Harry and Ron's friend. Now, the first encounter, that is a plant called Devil's Snare that can trap anybody who moves. It is very sensitive to light, but if one remains calm, he or she can overpower the snare. And this is, successfully, Hermione Granger conquers this task. Okay. Second encounter is catching the flying key using a broom. And none other than Harry can do this because Harry had already mastered the feat. Okay. So Harry completes this task. He got the key with a broken wing among the other flying keys using a broom. Third encounter is a wizarding chase. And Ron, he became the knight. If you watch the movie, you will see that Ron is the person who will endanger his own life. Ron is, otherwise very shy, very modest, and he comes from an impoverished wizard family. He is a full blood. Remember that. Both his parents are witch and wizards. So he comes from an impoverished wizard family. He is otherwise very shy and modest. One of the first friends that Harry made in Hogwarts Express. But he lacked, Harry's charisma, Harry's gusto. But he was loyal. As a friend, he was very loyal. And he endangered his own life for Harry. Okay. And this is a dangerous, this wizarding chase is unlike the chase that we play at home. Okay. So here the pawns, king, queen, knight, they can move on its own and they are capable of killing each other. There is another fourth encounter portion. This you will not find in the movie, but you will find in the book. This you will find in the book. And this portion led Harry to the mirror of Erised. Now, this mirror of Erised is also very important. Why I will tell you, because these mirror actually reflects your own deepest desires. So when Harry, first time when Harry looks into the mirror, he could see his parents. And he asks Albus Dumbledore about this, and Albus Dumbledore tells that this is, a reflection of your own deepest desire. And at the end, you will see that Harry, when he looks into the mirror of Erised at the end, you will see that he sees that the Philosopher's Stone is inside his pocket. And when, Voldemort will ask him, that is Professor Quirrell, will ask him that, what did you actually see? He will tell, no, I just saw Albus Dumbledore, I'm shaking hands with him and I'm holding the cup. And don't lie, tell me the truth. What have you seen? So he has seen the Philosopher's Stone that is inside his pocket. And when he will actually, put his hand inside his pocket, he could feel that the stone is still. So ultimately, there will be a duel, a confrontation, and Harry will conquer and Harry will kill, because the moment he had the stone with him, and because of that, Professor Quirrell will get burnt. His faces and next his face and hands and everything, that will be the whole body will burn. Okay, so ultimately, Harry will emerge as a winner and he will retrieve the Philosopher's Stone, but he will faint, being stricken by Voldemort. And when he awakes, he finds him in the hospital with Albus Dumbledore beside him, informing that the Philosopher's Stone had been destroyed, as I have told you. Okay, so these are the key words of Wizarding World that I told that I will be telling you. That is Muggles, I've already told. Those who are non-magical, that is, not a wizard or a witch. Mudblood are those witches or wizards whose parents or ancestors are muggles, that is, a muggle born. Hermione Granger was a mudblood, and also Lily Evans Potter was a mudblood. Half-blood refers to those wizards who have magical and muggle ancestors in their family trees. Harry himself is a half-blood. Now, can you tell me why Harry is a half-blood? Though his parents are wizard and witch, that is, James Potter was a wizard and Lily Evans Potter was a witch. Can you tell me, any of you? There are no Potter fans here. Can you tell me? No? Nobody? Okay. So let me explain. This is because Harry is a blood, because his father James Potter is a pure blood, but his mother, as I've told you, Lily Evans Potter, she was a muggle. That's why his maternal grandparents were muggles. That's why he was a half-blood. And full blood refers to those whose both parents are pure bloods. That is, people who have no muggles or muggle bonds as their ancestors, grandparents. Neville Longbottom is a full blood. Ron Weasley is a full blood. Harry is a half-blood. Snape is a half-blood, and Lord Voldemort too is a half-blood. Okay. So we are almost at the end of my presentation. And now, Orithra, is that fine?
Yes, ma'am, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Okay. Now the two things, besides I've told you that Harry Potter is not just a fantastic series. It's something more than that. Because there's two things which are intricately weaved into the matrix of the magical plot. One is the dichotomy between good and evil, and another is death. Now here I have taken a famous line from John Donne's sonnet, that is, "Death, be not proud." Let me tell you. The poet asserts, John Donne asserts, that death is a feeble enemy, and concludes, "One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die." So, poets of all ages and from different continents, you will see that all of them have been enamored with death. Like Sylvia Plath, who tells, death dying is an art. And like everything else, I'm exceptionally well in this. I can do exceptionally well. And, again, Rabindranath Tagore says, death is not just extinguishing the light. It's just putting out the lamp because dawn has come. And again, Keats says, it seems sweet to die. So, poets of all ages, they seem to be enamored with death. Now, why I'm telling all these things? Because in Harry Potter, you will find that at its core, the whole series is about our attitudes towards death and how we face the idea and reality of it. The very beginning sets the tone when we come to know that Harry's parents are dead. Lord Voldemort was defined by his fear and anxiety of death. And he devoted, his whole life in conquering it. That's why he created the Horcruxes. That is the object where he can put his soul behind. And there are 7 Horcruxes. He actually, sustained John Unicorn's blood. And he shot the Philosopher's Stone, only to conquer death. Okay, Albus Dumbledore once said to Voldemort, "Your failure to understand," quote, "that there are things much worse than death has always been your greatest weakness." This existential terror, as well as pursuit of power, was what drove Voldemort throughout the series. So it is not about striving for immortality, but about accepting mortality. I told you that I will be telling you at the end scene of Harry Potter, like when Dumbledore told Harry Potter at the end, the Philosopher's Stone had been destroyed. Thus condemning his friend Nicholas Flamel and his wife to die. Harry becomes very sad. He becomes, quite disheartened to hear that. And, then Voldemort reacted to Harry's dismay, quote unquote. "To one as young as you, I'm sure it seems incredible. But to Nicholas and his wife, Perenelli, it really is like going to bed after a very, very long day." After all, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Is a famous saying of Albus Dumbledore, and we have to live up to this. This is because Harry, confronted death himself with a brave heart and focused mind. That's why he won and Voldemort lost. So Harry is the boy who lived and who will live for centuries in the millions of hearts, of the boys and girls, like the teenagers. He will live. He will continue living. Okay. Besides death, there is another thing, another important trait that is, palpable here. That is love. As I've already told you, a mother's selfless love for her son had made him, invincible and made him survive the killing curse which none could do. He didn't need the resurrection stone to rise from dead. He lived he actually survived to live. Harry Potter is the boy who lived, and Harry Potter will continue living for centuries. Okay, with this, I end my presentation here. Now, if you pass the test with flying colors, don't forget that you will also receive present from owls, as you must have seen in the movie, and also pass your owl, like ordinary wizarding level. So, best of luck to all the students. Who knows, one of you might find yourself in one of the houses of Hogwarts. Right. And let me tell you, the owl, Harry's owl, was Hedwig, Harry's pet owl. Okay, so you might also receive present from owls. Who knows? Okay, with this, I end my presentation here. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. If Mary, you have anything to share with me, you can do that. Though I know time is already over. 1 minute left. I don't know, there was some sound problem. I'm extremely sorry for that, dear students. But I hope I could entertain you, and I could transport you to some the magical world of Hogwarts, away from this present pandemic crisis. Okay, thank you all of you. If you have any observation, because I think you know Harry Potter better than me. Okay, you must have watched all the movies, read all the books, 7 series, the whole collection. So you might be knowing better than me. So any observation, any query, anything. See, I actually tried to give you an overview, because time is a real constraint, but I have touched on important aspects of the first book. Okay, and hopefully if you go through the leaves of Philosopher's Stone, you can recollect my words. Okay, thank you.
Ma'am,
Thanks a lot to all the students of the three colleges. Okay, Orithro, I don't think there is any question or query.
Ma'am, actually, I saw one question. If you can,
There is one question.
I will just read it out
Can you please
for
tell me? Yes.
Sriti Banerjee is asking that, ma'am, because of the stone, Professor Quirrell dies, then why Voldemort wanted it? Won't it kill him?
Yeah, I just couldn't get. Please repeat the question.
Yes, ma'am, sure. Because of the stone, Professor Quirrell dies, then why Voldemort wanted it? Won't it kill him?
Oh, okay. No, see, it is because of the stone. The thing is that the stone was on Harry's palm, and this had the quality of burning others. But Voldemort also had that power. Voldemort was equally, powerful, like Harry Potter. He had, I told you that he had the equal power. He was also very powerful, and he had his, he was actually, the Death Eaters followed him, and he had real power, that is the wizarding power. And what harm the stone can do to Professor Quirrell, Lord Voldemort would not be, bitten or stricken by that stone. He would live, and moreover, he is a spirit, he is a hovering spirit, he is a parasite. Okay, so he could easily, get hold of that stone if he could have managed from Harry Potter. So the stone wouldn't have the same effect on Professor Quirrell as would have the same effect on Voldemort, Lord Voldemort. Yeah, Sriti, did you get it?
Ma'am, can I?
Yes,
Ma'am, there's a question from the YouTube live chat. Shreyoshi Bhattacharya, she's asking that, did J.K. Rowling uses the Harry Potter phrases in quotes, pure blood, half blood, and muggle born, all these three are in quotes, in relation to some of the real charts the Nazis used to show what constituted the Aryan or Jewish blood. I have put the question in the chat box for your reference, ma'am. If you can.
Yeah, there is some reference. Yes, obviously there is some reference that the Nazis used to show what actually, constituted the Aryan or the Jewish blood. But I don't know, J.K. Rowling at that time when she actually, conceived the idea of writing Harry Potter, she could have thought of so many things. Now, when we actually deconstruct these things, this will come into our mind that is there an association with how she has been, trying to associate this with Jewish blood or like that. That is how they were treated, the extermination, and that they were, badly treated and mistreated in extermination camps and all these things, the Jewish blood. You can, correlate that, considering the, considering the thing that is the deconstruction, and in study, deconstructive reading, we can do that. But I don't think when J.K. Rowling, actually conceived the idea of writing these series, that is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, she actually thought of, relating them in that way. But yes, you can relate that, right? You can relate. Okay, is there any other question?
There's nothing more. Oh, ma'am, Tanya Dhara has a question, if you can see in your screen.
Yes. So the story exhibits the coexistence of two worlds, but how far will it be relevant when the supernatural gets more emphasis on the individual authority over the other world of Mughals. This is quite interesting, yes. Yes, the question is very good, Tanya. Thanks for the question. And you know, here J.K. Rowling, some of them actually, if you have gone through the book, the whole series, and if you have watched the movies, you will see that this has been banned owing to this, initially, and because they thought that this is something which is actually highlighting the witches and the wizard and the supernatural, and demoralizing the human traits, and they are like a kind of exaggerating with this supernaturalism, and at the same time this is trying to overpower the muggles, that is the non-magical creatures. So there has been a lot of contestation regarding these, and initially this was banned. But actually, this is something which this became more popular because of these fantastic, because of these weird wizards, and I don't think that. At that time, when J.K. Rowling actually put these characters into a particular in a single frame, she actually thought of such discrepancies. Okay, so I think yes, you have rightly pointed out that.
I think that's all.
That's all?
Yeah, no more questions.
Okay. Okay, so shall we call it a day now? We can end our presentation.
Yeah.
Is there any other question? So with this we end our session, right, Aritro?
Yes, ma'am. With your permission, I'm ending the live stream since there is no more question to be discussed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And you can, personally, if you have any other question, you can personally, text that either in my mail ID or in my WhatsApp chat box. You can drop your question. I will rightly try to address them in my own way. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you.